Hello everybody, my name is Renikin, and today I'm trying something new again because I think I should do that. If that doesn't get cut out, I kill myself. So today we are going to talk about how can we improve something, like making an improvement series in terms of gaming, which I find quite interesting because more often than not, I talk about friends. I talk with friends about how can we improve a certain game, a certain genre, a certain, I don't know. And since I now and again replay stuff, I more often than not get the idea. Stuff has changed to the better, to the worse. I don't know, but these are the things that we can do better. So let's get started, and our first topic is a quite big one, a thing I'm quite passionate about, which is World of Warcraft. By the way, doesn't matter. World of Warcraft, how can you improve it? We know that the numbers of World of Warcraft's player base have gone down significantly. Do I care about the player base? Not really. People that do are kind of weird, because you always find a group. As long as that happens, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with player numbers. I don't know why people need that as a measurement on how good your game is or how good your experience is, but, well, I really don't care. For example, a good example to bridge over that is, I play with 10 people. If I get 10 people, I couldn't care less how many other people can play with 10 people at the moment. It's the same as if you go onto Steam and see how many people are playing at the same time. As long as I can play, for example, Killing Floor with my buddies, and I have a good time, I don't care how many other people can have a good time, potentially. So, that's a fun thing. But, back to the topic. I am of the opinion that you can improve some things, and that you can, work on certain things that maybe are a step backwards, but for the player base are a step forward. For example, a good thing that Blizzard implements with Legion is you can select to have passives or active abilities, and depending on what you pick, you can press a little bit more out of your character. Maybe if you, for example, take an active perk and you time it right, you can get more DPS than with a passive perk all the time. And I think that is a really, really interesting concept. What I otherwise dislike about the entire process is, if you have, for example, or if you have like an old skill tree, I think that gives the game more depth. And what is very interesting is that as long as you have a skill tree and have choice, people always will be cannot be bothered with making a good choice. If you understand what I mean. For example, I am one of those guys who are constantly on sites like Ask Mr. Robot or Icy Veins, etc. And of course I take the best. I want to make my character the best he is or she is. Well, most of the time I play male characters, so I would say he is. I think that is a huge problem with MMOs, and I can understand why Blizzard has gone for the perks. Especially since those talent trees, I remember the Warlock being one of the worst offenders. Being sometimes so cryptic that you want to make a weird spec on all 3 talent trees and stuff like that. And of course, that is not what Blizzard really wants, but why not make it like that? You know, why not giving us that kind of freedom? And some of those specs were very good, and some of those specs were quite overpowered. I mean, Wrath of the Lich King, I think it was with the Shadow Bolt Warlock, who just pressed 1 and didn't do anything else and was OP as fuck because of the skill trees. I mean, yeah, problems like that come up, but I think it's very, very cool. I think the step they are going right now is not the wrong step. Of course not. But I think it's a step that can be altered in a way that core players get more out of their money. And by the way, this video will probably mostly core gamers, because I think casuals have enough of their fill already in World of Warcraft, and the core gamers are the ones that are leaving. I remember someone saying, like, Total Biscuit saying that a core gamer is something that keeps the game alive. And I'm really of that same opinion, because I am a core gamer. I'm really a core gamer. I can be a core gamer, and I really do not think that I would closely fall in that casual camp. But the thing is that as a core gamer, I don't feel really pleased about World of Warcraft and how it developed over the years. The thing is that at the moment, I only know core gamers that are playing. It's weird. And the game is as casual as it was never before. And I do not understand the incentive behind that. But anyways, it doesn't matter right now. The thing is that what you can make to appease the core gamers, as in terms of Blizzard, is the removal of IDs. I know what people are thinking. Oh my god, what? ID removal? Are you crazy? But they need to make money. People will stop playing after a week. I know. But if you put in simple regulators, for example, like, what is a good regulator? Like tier tokens only dropping on the first ID, or Warforged items not dropping anymore. Stuff like that. I think that is very interesting, because you can really make the player base be focused on one character and equip that and with non-tier set parts, and go for the tier sets later on. So you make, in theory, the raiding easier for everybody, to the gearing up process, and have an expanded end game where you would, well, try to be as good as you can, because I would, as I said in a video earlier, I don't know which one it was, I think it was a Tavern Talk. If you make, like, hard modes a thing again, make hard modes a thing again. If you do that, you could push out the RNG factor of Warforged items. If you how Warforged works at the moment is you have an RNG factor, nobody likes it, maybe some people with a gambling addiction like it, but if you raid a dungeon 10 times and get no Warforged proc, while everybody else gets one and surpasses you for no apparent reason, I think it's not satisfying. It's not at all. Especially if I am the one who is on the receiving end, not on the end where everyone is given the Warforged they need. And of course my DPS lowers as a DPS, or my tanking capabilities are slightly lower, and I will probably get switched out if everything runs bad as fuck. And I think that is a very, very unsocial concept. While I think if you make the Ulduar hard modes a thing again and connect Warforged with that, like you get in a 10-man raid, you would get 3 items, and 2 of those are guaranteed Warforged if you do the hard mode, really. That would be very, very cool. And connected with the achievements so people know what the hard modes are. For example, people ask me, well, what is the hard... how do you want to make hard modes? Blah, 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 blah. You could do several hard modes. Several hard modes. For example, in Pandaria, we got the Garrosh fight. Now, what if I would tell you that your hard mode could be that you do not kill the engineers that are shooting the iron stars at you for the entire fight? Like, even in the last phase, there are iron stars coming towards you. And then you get 2 Warforged procs because you just killed him like that. Or what another Warforged proc hard mode could be would be, for example, Bracken Spore. If you would not destroy moss at all, like let the moss creep up, and if you kill him like that, that would be a hard mode. Or even say defeat the boss without using the blue mushrooms. That could also be a hard mode, like the support mushrooms, not using them, hard mode. Or what another thing is, a hard mode of letting Orgorger bump a certain amount of times into walls and not destroy crates at all at the beginning. Like, yeah, start destroying crates in each phase he rolls after the 5th time he bumped into a wall, and then you can destroy the crates. That would be like nice, and I think that would be very, very satisfying for a core audience and for, of course, a casual audience if they get that hard mode done and they get their Warforged. And I think that is the goal you should go for. That is the goal I think you should go for. Making a game that not only gives you something to do and you something to achieve as a normal player, but also throw a bone in there for everybody who wants to get something out of their hard-earned experience. And this is why I want to remove IDs, because you can say, well, the hard mode has IDs. The hard mode you can do once a week, the loot rolls. But the other ones are like for just having those gear farming moments where you just grind the gear. I mean, what does it take from anybody? I think nobody would say, yeah, I've done normal now 3 times this week, and now I'm not going to play that game anymore, even though I know there are these nice hard modes that are in the game. And I think those the removal of IDs would prepare players of all player bases for those hard modes. Like, you would get increasingly better gear and the boss gets easier, so you can get in those hard modes earlier. And if you put a cooldown on those tier tokens, if you put a cooldown on those hard modes, I think the experience for core gamers would be way, way bigger. Because honestly, some people who want to raid core, like really, really, really hardcore, are raiding 6 to 7 times a week on different alls who are all on the same equipment level. So why not remove that? I mean, it doesn't take away from anybody. And yes, there are guilds who say, well, we want to raid 7 times a week. Well, if they do want to do that, you can do that. You're not forced to do anything. And if you do feel forced to do something, like what people say, yeah, grinding levels is faster, so I feel forced to do that, then you're fucking stupid. I sorry to insult you, but you're fucking stupid if you think like that. Now, to the next topic. What can we also improve in World of Warcraft? And I think we see some improvement on class variety inside their own class. For example, the hardest contrast to what comes as a new spec into World of Warcraft is the new Survival Hunter as a melee DPS class. Is it good that there is a melee hunter? And I personally think yes. And you might argue that no, it is not. But let me explain to you why I think it is. I think since back in the day, if a class can wield a certain weapon, you should be able to use it efficiently. That having said, we have seen the degradation of throwing weapons, of melee weapons for hunters, of ranged weapons for rogues, well, throwing weapons, of course, for rogues and warriors, as well as, I think, warriors can even wield guns and bows. We have seen the fall of wands as not a ranged weapon anymore, but as, well, of course as a ranged weapon, but not as like a staff was your melee weapon and the wand was your backup weapon or something like that. We never seen that anymore. We don't see that anymore because they removed that. And I think this is very, very counterproductive. I would say counterproductive because me as a fellow gimmick player who loves to play stuff around a certain build, I really, really, really do not like that I am forced into playing with certain weapons, and the artifact weapons don't help with that. For example, why can't I get a rogue spec? And the outlaw is perfect for that. I don't know why they didn't do that. The outlaw rogue will be like a rogue that also can go into ranged attacks because of his backup gun. But I ask myself really, 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 why does a rogue not get a ranged spec? I mean, you have like characters who are like rangers and like the Windrunner sisters and stuff like that, and they are kind of stealthy and they are bowmen. Why can't you play like a stealthy bowman who is a ranged character and uses carefully aimed shots and is like a casting rogue with stealth? I mean, it's not that hard. Make a cast time. I mean, it would be different to what a rogue is right now. But if we think that rogue could play with poisoned arrows, poisoned darts, etc., I think that would be a very interesting spec that many people would like to play. And that having said, there are other things like a warrior with throwing weapons. I mean, why not make that like an Amazon kind of character, where you have like a spear and, well, or a Spartan would be more appropriate, where you would take a polearm and you have like only your throwing abilities and you play a character that relies on being close but also being far away. Like, you throw a spear and you can jump after the spear to make an additional hit, and then you can make like I should stop saying like, and then you can make a sweeping move and jump backwards again, like you go in and out, and that would be a very interesting spec also to see. Or what we can see is different fighting styles for the Pandaren. I mean, yeah, we have the Drunken Fist with the Brewmaster. We have Tiger, the Tiger fighting style. I totally forgot the Asian name for that. With Damage Dealer, and we have like Crane school fighting with the healer spec. But how can we, like, those are 3 different specs based on what the class can possibly do. And I think this is very cool. I think every class should have this, and not like a Fury and a Weapons Warrior, where the only difference lies within a few set abilities, but there's no indication of pure difference in them. I mean, yeah, the inner works are different, but from an outside source who does not play very much else than a rogue and barely plays any twinks at the moment, because 10 years, holy fucking shit, that gets tiring. And we can improve the warrior, for example, to have like that semi-ranged spec, or we can make mages who are going into melee range and enforce their weapon with their magic, and have like the arcane spec, like using magic weapons or reinforce your weapons and using instant spells at close range, like a combat mage, I think, or a war mage or something like that. I don't know what the terminology of that is. Like the red mage was in Final Fantasy 1 with semi-heavy armor, or heavier armor than the other mages, but also with good melee with okay melee capabilities and okay casting. Like you make a hybrid out of that. And for me, that is a very interesting concept. While doing that, we could also make the warlock again more pet-based class. I don't know what happened to demonology, right? Demonology. I will call him Demonology right now because I totally forgot the spec name. I can quickly look in my. I think Atlas Loot should have tier sets based on the specs. We have tier sets, not tabards, tier sets, and we should go here. No, it doesn't say any spec. Fuck my life. Doesn't matter. So, if we go Demonology Warlock, why aren't we supposed to have like awesome demons again, which we cannot really control, but can control for a certain time because I am quite mighty, and as far as I go along in this tree, the further I go along, the better my controllabilities get. Like, you have to make a curve again of demons that you can control and learn to control. What I saw was the Preach Gaming Warlock legacy video, and since I don't play casters, because the only caster classes I play are most of the time summoner classes, which the Warlock does not represent in any way. I mean more something in the terms of Necromancer from Diablo 2. If we can get something like that, that would be awesome. But focusing on the Warlock now, if I, as a Warlock player, don't get the feeling that my Warlock abilities get mightier, then why even have that? Like, for example, I want to make a Warlock. If I play on Demonology, I would like to play a Warlock that has something more of a progression. I want to have like an imp at the beginning, and the demon I get next is like something better than the imp, but an upgrade to the imp. So you upgrade your pet in the terms of leveling up, and in the end you have like that really huge, strong demon that you can control, and you have to work with said demon, not like many people, not like many other people do, play with an imp because it gives a nice buff or something like that. And I think this is a very fundamental idea that we have there, because we need to make the classes feel like you're progressing. At the very moment, I feel like I'm leveling a character and I get perks, but I don't learn anything about my class. The thing is that if I play, for example, a rogue, I want to learn stuff like, hey, you're good at the beginning, you're like a little poacher. You're like, yeah, I can go a bit stabby, and other than that, I'm not really something special. Like, why? Why are you going this route? Why not make yourself a character that is more than just that stabbing idiot? I'm sorry, you're nothing more than that at the moment, and I think this is very, very sad. In terms of rogue progression, I would really start like, yeah, you can stealth, you have backstab and stealing, and nothing more than that. Or you have zap and stealing, and sinister strike as a combat ability. If you have those three at the beginning, and then you can, or you have just stealth, stealing, and sinister strike. These are enough. If you have these three abilities, you feel like, yeah, I am like a little poacher. And then you get a quest where you're like, yeah, not only are you a little poacher, but you're pretty much fucked because you get, I don't know, caught by... I tell the story now in terms of a Stormwind Guard, because I really don't know much about the Corcoran. And I'm not so fit on Horde lore right now. I've changed to Horde a few months ago and then stopped playing. I am of the opinion that we could ask for, yeah, how does my character progress? And we could ask for quests that say, yeah, you are getting to be that hero guy. Because at the beginning, a rogue shouldn't be more than a little thief that steals here and there. And yeah, you do your quests, but you shouldn't be doing your quests from the very beginning like, can you help me getting my apples off the tree because you're so nice? That's not a rogue. A rogue is not a good person. He's most of the time a person who's poor, who's struggling to survive and needs to do stuff that is not ethically correct to get to where he wants to become what he is supposed to become. And I think this is a fundamental principle that you should go for if you're making a class for an MMO. Because I can tell you that personally, I am not happy at all, where my class is developing into that we are playing the same bullshit over and over again stuff. A combat rogue does not feel different than any other melee, really. For example, I played Paladin, and I think the Red Paladin is the same button mashing bullshit as the combat rogue. The combat rogue is 1 2 3 1 2 3. That's literally everything you have to do. And oh no, I have to toggle my blade flurry on because otherwise I can't do AoE damage. And if I go into the subtlety rogue, I have to keep up 3 buffs. No, 2 buffs, 1 buff and 1 debuff on the enemy. No, 3. 3 of that. Then we need to have the positioning for backstabs. We have to care about the cooldowns. Everything. And I think this is part of your character progression. And by the way, Blizzard is going for that with the legendary weapons, but that should start very early. I should start as a rogue and go like, yeah, I'm that poacher dude. I'm stealing. I'm backstabbing, and now I get caught by, for example, that Alliance Marshal, and he says, yeah, no, listen to me, bro, you have to either go to prison or serve for the SI7. That are your only options, because we can have shit like you in Stormwind, or in Iron Forge, or something like that, wherever you are, and based upon that, you should make like progress. For example, you go to Matthias Shaw. Was it Matthias? I don't know. From the SI7, the leader, and he sends you to basic rogue training, and where you learn sap, and then you have to sap and learn to steal. Well, you can still steal, but you have to learn to sap. And you learn to backstab, and you learn to ambush, and stuff like that. You get your abilities that way. I think this is way more efficient, and I feel more like a class in the end. Whereas, and that happens all before the class specialization happens. We can put that up to level 20 and then do that shit. But make first a quest where you learn to be your character and then open up. I think this is very, very important for character progression. And this is also a thing you should improve on. As well as I said with the Warlock. First you learn to keep the power of imps and learn how to tame lesser demons. And then at the end you learn to use your improved imp. And quest with that. And the last thing is like the Void Walker or something like that. And with that, having said, you specialize on something where you, or even like those familiars who are like bigger imps at the end. And then you can specialize, and then you learn how to improve your abilities as a warlock. As a mage, you should learn, first of all, to learn how to wield arcane powers, because arcane is where you draw your energy from, and then you learn to wield a bit of like light fireballs and learn to throw those, and frost, of course, and then you specialize and say, well, I want to be a frost mage, and then you go your way. Or as a hunter, you should first of all learn how to tame a docile pet, which is like something harmless, and after that you learn something more vicious. And learn how to be a hunter, learn how to set up traps, learn how to use certain arrows or shot techniques to your own advantage. I think these are very interesting concepts, and you cannot throw stuff like that out of the window. Class diversity is very important in MMO. If the only class diversity I have is the different button presses, I can play Lord of the Rings Online. Well, no, those have more class diversity. Okay, I would play, I don't know, a DC Universe Online, because there it doesn't matter what class you play, everything is viable. And of course that is nice, but that doesn't fit in the Warcraft genre, especially if you try to bring everything lore-wise in there. I mean, why not make a starting zone for every class? It's not that hard. Making 2 little starting zones, and they can make them even inside of the world. Why not make like your warrior training in Dunmurrow, or make your warrior training in the plains of fucking Malgor, or make your hunter training in the plains of Malgor, better put, and learn there to tame some Avenged Riders. It's not so hard if you really think about it, for such a big company as Blizzard. And if someone says, well, it's too much work for them, yeah, tough shit, it's like their job to work. That's like work. You work to work. And I think this is a very interesting concept that should be followed. Other than that, what you could also do as a permanent catch-up mechanic, I think the Time Walker dungeons are not a bad idea. Not at all. Time Walker dungeons, in my opinion, can be utilized very well. But I think Time Walker dungeons should be. They should just be not the only catch-up mechanic. I think you should be able from the very beginning of the expansion to catch up via something that is okay to achieve. And this something is heroics, in my opinion. I think we have distanced us too far from what Wrath of the Lich King was doing with heroics. I think that was a huge mistake. Heroics should be somewhat challenging. I agree. I think they should get easy over the expansion because you get better gear, etc. And I think the Valor Point system, where you went into heroics, for some people as their major content, they just did heroics all day. I did that too. I wasn't with my Death Knight back in at the beginning of Wrath. I wasn't really into Naxxramas at all. I did Nax, I geared up for Nax, but the major thing I did during the week was heroics, and I think that I wouldn't call it force, but that using of the heroic mechanics really improved on how a person laid out their later line of work. The most people who went heroics all day, or most of the time, went into raiding. And even without the LFR, which is something I will talk in a little bit later. The LFR was not the thing, and people raided. I think Wrath had the biggest tendency for raids ever, especially with Ice Crown. And I think that should be taken in consideration, that even though Wrath was an expansion without LFR, the raid attendancy was significantly higher, and that was because people realized, okay, I have to raid if I want to get that good gear. I do not must raid. It's not a thing I have to do as a major activity because there was so much stuff else to do, but it was a possibility. The PvP was there. We had arenas, like arena PvP was very vivid as far as I can remember. We not only had a high attendance in both of those things, we had the raid attendance, everything was higher because people were kind of forced to do that. I mean, they didn't have to. I mean, you were very good if you just did your stuff, went your heroics, did your Archivon's Cavern, and after that you just chilled the rest of the week and bought your stuff from Valor Points. I think that is the way to go. I don't think what they do now is really good, where they push you into, well, in my personal experience now, and I'm saying how I feel, it is like this. As a new person, I would quest. Then I would gear up for 600, I think, for the heroic dungeons, right? After that, I would go into heroics, then LFR, and then raids. That's the progression I see there, because you are kind of forced to do that because of the legendary ring quest. You cannot just go, nah, I don't feel like that. You really have to, in my opinion. There's no possibility not to skip that process, other than to go to LFR and use your garrison catch-up mechanics to get this ring. What you could possibly do, and this is just a could, and I think personally you should do that, is you do PvP for 3-4 days. Just go every evening, go PvP as a Horde character. It's very easy. Horde is so underplayed. It's like queuing as a tank for a dungeon. You go into your PvP, chill out, relax, and get 700 items. I'm not kidding. I do that right now because I was quite inactive. I was quite inactive after Blackrock Foundry was cleared in our guild, and jumped it back in when Hellfire Citadel came out. And I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a problem with LFR, but I think why would you do that if you are intelligent enough to just do the PvP stuff? I really shit you not. If you win a few rounds, this thing will be over quite fast. I bought in one day 2 700 daggers because I'm going for sub again, because I read sub is better than combat in terms of, yeah, well, sub is always better in terms of solo DPS than combat, but combat was way more useful in Blackrock Foundry because you had always AoE encounters. Always. I mean, name me one encounter besides Gruul where you, well, or Gorger. But these are the only two where I think combat is not useful at all. And in Hellfire Citadel, I think it is, yeah, easier to roll with the sub-rogue. But anyways, not talking too much about the sub-rogues. I wanted to focus on why LFR is not a thing that you need to do if you are not out for the legendary ring. And if you, as a person of, I would say, sanity, play this game, then I would say just do your PvP stuff. PvP is the way to gear up quickly. You could also use Tanan. I would do Tanan dailies as a returning person or as a new person, just to get my flying. I would hope for the upgrades that you get there, because these are a good starting boost. I would do PvP because you get boosted to 700, I think, with your gear. And if you have done that, you should probably be able to go even Hellfire Citadel, maybe even Heroic. If not, go normal and upgrade those items from 695 to 705. Then you are definitely able to go Heroic. Like, this is basically the foundation you should gear up right now. And is this the right way? I don't think it is. I don't think PvP is the right way to get easy into PvE. I think there should be a balance. They even had that balance at the very beginning. They made the PvP so, I would say, they made the PvP so weak in comparison to the PvE that you probably wait a second, I'm kind of confused right now. They made the PvP comparatively so much weaker than the PvE that you only equip the PvP items due to the item level boost in PvP. I think that was the right way to go, not make PvP items only 5 item level worse than the normal stuff that you get in a raid if you upgrade that stuff fully. And you cannot, I think, even upgrade all of the stuff. Also, I personally think, and many people hate this opinion, but I think LFR should go. I think we should not have this mode anymore. My reasoning for this is that LFR is probably the worst thing that Blizzard implemented since, I don't know, what was even worse than LFR. What annoyed me more than LFR? I think nothing. Nothing annoyed me so much. Why didn't something annoy me so much anymore? Because for the very simple reason that LFR makes this weird two-class society. And you should never split up your societies in MMOs. Everyone should be able to play with everyone, or want to be able to play with everyone. I think LFR is the poor man's excuse for I don't want to raid. This is LFR. I think many people are pulling excuses out of their ass to not bother to raid. Many people. And I think this is just plain wrong. Plain fucking wrong. Why can it be? Why does this exist? That if you as a person are, well, it makes me angry. It really makes me angry, because as a person, I think when I want to play an MMO, at least, I think you should be dedicated to that. And I think those people who say, now I have a kid and I have no time because of work, I really cannot raid. Those are lying assholes. Sorry, if you do not work during your raid times, then yeah, this is on you. But other than that, I mean, I cannot understand this. I really can't. Because in theory oh my god. I'm getting on a rant right now, right? But bear with me. I was a guild lead at the beginning of Draenor, right? I did the best I could to be a good raid leader and to not only make my raid happy, but also be there all the time. I worked till 15 minutes before raid start. I shit you not. And I still got to I still got to not only raid but also have like a real life. I really do not understand the reasoning behind that. And my raid lead was 2 times farther by then already. And his wife raided with us. We had stuff like, baby aggro, where the baby started to cry after boss pull or something like that, or during a try. But we learned to live with that. I mean, that is basically the foundation you should build a guild on, right? You're like a social circle who plays games with each other, and you should have fun. That is the stuff what raiding is. People define raiding as work. We hear that all the time. Yeah, raiding is work, quote unquote. You know what work is? Work is work, not raiding. Raiding is fun. Raiding should be fun. Raiding has nothing to do with any kind of work. If raiding is compared to your work, I would be happy to work in your job. Because raiding is like spending time with 9 other people to have fun in a raid. And I think it's a poor man's excuse to say nowadays times are stressy. I think nowadays some of you behave more like, sorry to say that, it sounds a bit offensive, but some of you sound more like pussies. And I don't like that macho talk, like, yeah, you're all pussies, you're all bad. But really, in Wrath, people who were parents found raid spots. People who had no time or worked all day long had raid spots, and nobody complained. I mean, yeah, there were those who say, well, I have a stressy day, I come later or something like that. But if you do not have this social, I would say, circle where you can honestly communicate about that, you are playing the wrong game. And I think LFR just motivates people to not play the game properly. Really? I would rather say, well, let's do the ID removal than to keep LFR. Because then you can run the first boss 20 times and get all of your loot that you want to get. Except for Warforged procs and tier set items. And then you can move on the next boss. And then you understand what I mean, like, you're progressing slowly but surely. And this is something that you also should improve, which, well, duh, Right? I mean, I don't know. I cannot think. I mean, yes, you are not forced, but if you progressively rate, you are even pushed to do LFR because of the drops there for your legendary items, and I'm glad that they removed that bullshit. I'm really, really glad. But I don't know. I think LFR should go. I really should. I really think that. I think it takes too much of it takes too much of the raiding experience away for those people who do LFR. And I think some people are just not too familiar with raiding. I think LFR does the following to some players. It encourages them to think, oh shit, raiding is so hard, let's do LFR all the time. And then they are not on top of the DPS meters and they think, oh shit, I am not ready for raiding. And I think this is bullshit. I really think this is bullshit. I mean, you learn from your mistakes and you have to progress by yourself, but I really think that some people behave like they just underestimate themselves because of LFR. And it has nothing to do with like, yeah, that's Generation Pandaria, because I know one person in particular that is so fucking good with her character that I would say, yeah, she would never need fucking LFR. Never ever. I mean, she can play the game. She started in Pandaria and she's as good, not even better than me. And I think this is not only important to keep in mind, but also it is, well, I think it is necessary to keep people out of bullshit. And I think LFR is said bullshit. And I think we as player base should encourage people to come with us in the real raids and show people that they should not fear that, and that they should encourage themselves to push themselves further. If you want to play easy mode, go 5-man dungeons. And you can still do your stuff, but I think LFR is just like, yeah, I mean, I literally, and I confess that, went for those elemental runes, for the last I needed, I went AFK on the last bosses because I couldn't take that shit anymore. It was so boring. I could stand everywhere. AoE heals were so good that I could just camp inside the boss and right click, go AFK for 10 minutes. Well, not 10, but 5. And then I stood there and I chilled and I relaxed. And nothing bad happened to me. I got even free fucking loot. And if we are at that point where you just go AFK because you're too frustrated to get that shit, I think then the balance is so fucking off that yeah, you know the drill. Anyways, I think I will do probably a part 2 sooner or later, because I really wanted to go into crafting, and we're at 1 hour already, and yeah, I go into the smaller mechanics. I think this will happen really soonish, because if I have to kill time, I will record one of those. It's just talking, really, and putting an image up. But yeah, I think I want to do that more. Just talk about one topic, talk about how you can improve stuff. I think this is essential. But yeah, I would say see you on the next episode. Goodbye, ciao, auf Wiedersehen, peace.